Welcome to Until Saturday, early Sunday morning edition. We're all wearing sunglasses. I'm the only one wearing a hat. I'm also the only one wearing a 2-year-old sunglasses because they're the quickest ones I could find right now. We are coming in as a live reaction to the best game of the year, guys. Maybe Colorado beating Colorado State in double
I feel
overtime.
like the TCU game was better. The TCU Colorado game was better.
This game,
I think this is the best
much
overtime
better.
game in organized sports. But let's get into it.
Yeah. So we already recorded the reaction podcast stupidly after the Tennessee-Florida game. We went live after that game.
Not stupidly, because it's 2:40 Eastern, and I don't want to do the whole show right now.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got most of it out of the way.
We are here, and if you hear another intro or another reference to the Colorado State game later in the show, just realize we did the first show after the Tennessee-Florida game, and this is the live reaction early in the morning after Colorado beat Colorado State in a game in which it seemed like they were going to lose, down 11 in the fourth quarter. Then Shadeur Sanders turned into John Elway, and the rest is history. And Travis Hunter was out of the game for the entire second half with an injury. So, guys, sunglasses here. Take it away. Who wants to start? That was incredible.
We look like the Men in Black here, by the way. I'm gonna actually take this off. I can't see.
I need a tie.
My first thought coming out of this game is like that 98 drive by Colorado and Shadeur Sanders was remarkable. But my biggest thought coming out of this game is that Colorado State blew it, and Jay Norvell did not go for the win. They punt on 4th and 2 around midfield, I think, late in the game.
It was in plus territory. That was a Hayden Fry Iowa Big Ten punt right there.
And then in the first overtime, after scoring a touchdown to potentially tie the game, instead of going for 2 in the win, they kick the extra point to send you to an overtime in which you have to get an extra 2-point conversion anyway. They had ESPN's numbers had a 99.4% winning percentage chance for Colorado State with about 2 minutes left in that game. From the 16 or 17 penalties to not blitzing late in the game to a lot of other mistakes, Colorado State gave this game away. And Jay Norvell's a really good coach, and he did a really good job at Nevada. He's done a pretty good job at Colorado State. I think he's getting them in the right direction. But my goodness, what were those decisions late in the game? At some point, you have to go for the win. What are you trying to outlast Shadeur Sanders here? I couldn't believe what Colorado State was doing.
I mean, Shadeur was so hot, and you have nothing to lose there. I mean, you don't want the game to go back into his hands, and yet you willingly put it there. Even if you had told me when he's lining up to punt there that you could pin them on the 2. You have been tearing that defense up, and just run mesh again. You're gonna get a 2-yard gain. Horton had 16 catches by the end of the night. That's insane. It was a weird decision at the time. I mean, I think that's more unforgivable than going for 2. They should have gone for 2, but I couldn't believe in the moment that they were punting it, because getting 2 yards, you're probably more likely to get net 25 yards, 20 yards of field position. You're giving up possession instead of trying to get 2 yards. I mean, and they need a touchdown anyway. And 2-point conversion. I mean, 2 yards to win the game, especially the way that game played out. That's the one that I think, on the bus back to Fort Collins, Jay Norvell is going to be kicking himself, because that's cowardly football. And I believe 4th down decision bot, I believe they subtracted 7% from their win percentage. That's on the short list of most cowardly punts. The 4th down decision bot has been inactive this year, but
no, I'm sorry.
Came out of retirement.
4th down decision bot, that was Deion's decision to kick a field goal at the 2-yard line instead of going for a touchdown. That's what the one did. But yeah, I'm sure the bot said to do it as well. Couldn't believe
it.
Guys,
but then when they go to hold on. When they go to overtime, Colorado gifts them an opportunity by deciding to play offense first in overtime, right?
Shadeur botched the coin toss, which is going to get lost to history because they won.
If that's what they want to do, whatever. But they're gifting Colorado State an opportunity where you've scored and you need to punch in 2 yards to win the game here in a game that I know you just knocked Shadeur down and maybe banged him up or whatever, but do not extend this game. There's absolutely no excuse for extending the game. Go run a play and finish it, you've got something in the bag. Instead, you end up in double overtime, 4th and goal from the 18, having to throw a ball up. Like that's inexcusable to me too.
I'm
You were going to have to get a
100% in
2-point
agreement with you
conversion
guys
anyway.
with the whole idea of not going for the jugular and not taking the game when there was a chance to win it. And I'm happy that we talked about that. But like, I also am completely and utterly blown away by a team that was being kind of mocked in the middle of the game for worrying more about sunglasses than preparing for the game. The fact that they were a 24-point favorite and it looked like they were going to lose the entire second half. And then like how Shadeur Sanders was incredibly accurate in the toughest moments, stood up in the most crucial times and delivered precision pass after precision pass. Their best player before the game, I would have said, was Travis Hunter, and I still probably believe that, was out of the game. And this guy is taking him 98 yards down the field with, I think, less than a minute left, is making every single play possible in overtime. Like, it's like, I think Colorado State did blow the game. I agree with you guys on that metric. And I would have made some different decisions too. But like, did Shadeur Sanders, if he wasn't already, just become a star on national television with people on the East Coast in bars sitting, looking at their iPhones in nightclubs and stuff, like watching this game? Like, everybody was watching this stuff. It's 2 a.m. We're all
I would
up.
hope the East Coast people have already closed at that point, right? You know,
Yeah, no, you never know. It depends on what city
in the
you're in.
lift on the way home
But
at that point.
I'm like legitimately, because like the thing about it is that Colorado, you know, I think their lines from what people were talking about all year, you know, it's susceptible. Like the route to beating them is clear. And all the things that you would talk about Colorado and all those, you know, preseason notions of, you know, they're going to be flashy and soft. Like there is a legitimate discussion point here of like the resiliency of the team and people stepping up and making all the plays that needed to be made on their side to win that game. And it's just like, I'm blown away by, and I hate to say it to the Deion haters out there, but like that was a hell of a coached game by them, I thought. Like, I mean, like everything that Colorado needed to do when they already quote unquote lost, like happened. Like you don't, I'm blown away by that performance. I don't know.
No, totally. And we were giggling earlier in the podcast about, oh, you know, they're kind of, you know, grab assing quite a bit here in Boulder in the first half and stuff like that. To flip it, you're down 28-17 with 8 minutes left, and to totally flip it and win it like that. I mean, you're right, Ari. Like it absolutely. We can pick at like all the things Colorado State did wrong, and there's plenty to choose from. But I mean, that is a pretty unreal response.
Well, I think how many times did you have to have it? Like you think about from that 8-minute mark, every time you're in Colorado's in a position where you got to have something here. Shadeur delivered. Like that is uncanny. And that, I mean, it was over and over and over again. And also the 2-point pass with two guys basically taking him to the ground. He flings it to Xavier Weaver in the back of the end zone. I mean, that was a ridiculous play.
We've seen a lot of quarterbacks that are really, really good who might not have made that throw.
Yeah.
Like, I think we have to start legitimately considering and discussing Shadeur Sanders as a really, really great quarterback. You know, he just puts the ball where it needs to be over and over and over again, regardless of the situation. Easy, hard, clutch, you know, first quarter, whatever it is, the ball is where it needs to go.
He's also talked about it on the show
too.
Like when he takes that targeting hit and he's taken to the ground on the late hit, delivers a touchdown pass after that.
Deion's wiping the blood off his lip with his sleeve.
Yeah, like dude, like that dude is tough.
Yeah.
And
how many QBs could take what he's put up with through 3 games? And it's going to continue, but in terms of not just I think it's 4 sacks in the book tonight, but so many pressures, right? Like this kid just keeps going. It's amazing.
You know, I hate to do it because it's a college football podcast, but it has to be done. Producer Cam is in my ear right now. Like, you know, I hate to say this as somebody who drafted Travis Hunter in our Heisman draft, but did Shadeur Sanders just kind of take the bull by the horns on that one with this team? And is he a legitimate Heisman candidate in your mind, or is it just going to get?
He has to be at this point. I mean, the games are going to play themselves out. You know, we'll see. But if you want to have an honest conversation about the Heisman Trophy at this point in the season, to quote Deion Sanders, who's done what he's done? I mean, I'd have to check how the numbers sorted out after today, but he's probably still leading the country in passing yards. He's playing on a team that doesn't have a running game. He has to do everything. It's all on his shoulders. And despite the fact that, Colorado State's not a great team, we'll see how many games they win today. He did all this today for over 3 quarters, I believe, without Travis Hunter, who is his best receiver. Like it's you don't have to say he's like the greatest quarterback to ever walk the face of the earth, but if you're having a legitimate conversation about who has played the best 3 games in the country so far, I mean, Shadeur might be number 1.
Well, and the thing that's different about him too than other Heisman candidates is the win factor is a huge deal in Heisman races. And if you're a quarterback of a team that is a legitimate power or a team that is expected to win their conference or potentially make the playoff, your win-loss record goes a large way and with them, they don't have to go 10-2 for him to win the Heisman. Like the wins and losses.
Yeah, our voters are stupid.
I don't know. I don't know,
quarterbacks quarterbacks.
If they win 8 games with him.
No, I don't think so, Ari, because they're going to be losing games, and they can't. A quarterback cannot win the Heisman going 8-4. It's not going to happen.
I mean, the Manziel thing only happens if the rest of the field's not great, right?
Well, he lost his first game, right? Or his first.
Johnny
Manziel went and beat the number 1 team in the country on the road.
Yes.
I mean, when Shadeur does that, we'll see. But to this point, you can say without a doubt, he has won them their 3 games. With what he has done and the numbers he's put up. So I'd probably put him 3, but I wouldn't argue him 1. And also, I don't think he'll be there at the end of the year, but that's fine. To this point, he absolutely deserves to be in that conversation.
Do you believe? You don't believe they'll be there at the end of the year? You don't believe?
Do you believe?
I think we're going to see a lot more blitzes from Oregon next week than we saw late from Colorado.
I'm going out to Eugene next week. I really am very fascinated to see what that game is. And man, just teams. I'm still waiting for a team to play their best against Colorado. It doesn't seem to happen. I kept my TCU stock after they lost their first game, and they've looked pretty good, as good as they can. Since then, Nebraska may have accidentally stumbled onto their quarterback today and beat Northern Illinois, who beat BC, who hung around Florida State. And Colorado State, we'll see. I don't think that's a very good team. They got some limitations, but man,
it seems like self-inflicted stuff is just part of the non-conference game contract that Colorado signed with these guys.
It must be.
I texted you guys during that fourth quarter. I was like, you can count at this point. You can count on Colorado's opponent to just do the dumbest possible thing, apparently. And if you're TCU, that means throwing the ball in the red zone. If you're Nebraska, that means sticking with Jeff Sims. And if you're Colorado State, that means never going for the win.
And also as many personal fouls as possible.
Yeah, don't commit 10 or 11 personal fouls. My God.
We have an entire podcast to get to here, but I want to go around the horn and give everybody 30 seconds of what's their main takeaway from this game.
Mm-hmm.
And since Max is the most attractive, we'll start with him.
Do we think do we think next week, guys, is a 70-63 kind of game? Are you expecting another just absolute thriller, or do you expect a blowout? Which end of the spectrum? Do you expect this kind of a game, or do you expect a blowout next week?
Oh, no.
I don't think this Colorado team can hang with Oregon, but I think Oregon's really good.
I agree. I think Oregon will coach smarter and for the win, and they have the horses that nobody Colorado has played with yet does, especially in the trenches. But I thought TCU might do the same, and that didn't happen, so I'm totally open to the idea that I'm going to be wrong on that. I'm leaning toward blowout.
I would say my takeaway is that Colorado has had some of the same problems in all 3 of their games, and so far none of the problems have mattered. So
here's a question:
they're going to keep getting a little bit better, but man, they're entertaining, but they're also kind of living dangerously here.
How much do you think this is Colorado? The fact that Colorado now has film after 2 games, and Colorado State was able to look at that and defend it in a way that the first 2 teams couldn't. It feels like it's going to get harder because of that.
I mean, maybe. I think ultimately, Colorado, their corners are not very good. And TCU had the receivers to beat them, but they had a ton of self-inflicted errors. Chandler Morris didn't play very well. Nebraska just didn't have the dudes to exploit that. Colorado State also doesn't necessarily have world beaters, but they had enough receivers. They had 3 receivers have 100 yards and a touchdown tonight. Oregon's got better receivers and a better quarterback to exploit the fact that Colorado, and we haven't even touched on the fact that, if Travis Hunter is on the field next week, I will be kind of surprised considering he's in the hospital right now.
Tony
So,
Yayo's taking shots at my daughter's shades right now.
So we'll see. Oregon just seems very well put together to take advantage of the weaknesses of this team, which are attack the corners, pressure Shadeur, and they can't really run the ball still. That's that I need to go look at what the rushing numbers that Colorado State had been giving up, because I'd be willing to bet they're probably better than what we saw tonight.
One thought on Shadeur Sanders. I just think he's improved so much in this new offense. He's focused. He's having fun. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a dark horse for the Heisman.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. We got to get back on track with the takeaways, Ari.
I feel like my takeaway would be that like everything that Colorado does from here on out feels like house money to me.
Yeah.
Like everybody was talking about how Deion Sanders is an unproven entity, that what he did at Jackson State doesn't matter, that they don't have any offensive or defensive linemen. Like I'm saying things that I was saying, that like, hey, this could be a clown show. This could be something that is more entertaining because of a failure than it is a success. And, regardless of what happens from here on out, because they are going to be playing legitimate national championship contenders, and they play in all of a sudden one of the deepest and most entertaining leagues in the sport, that he's already proven proficient enough to run a program in a way that I think long-term can be legitimately successful, not just like a cool, fun, what kind of things is he going to do after the game and what shit is he going to talk before the game. Like, as a program leader, I think he's made great hires. I think Sean Lewis, we'll talk about this on Sunday Sound Off too, guys, but like
staff
the hire
great.
of Sean Lewis, the staff is great.
Like
he's a great CEO of a program that has kids motivated, playing above their level potentially, and capturing the entire country. So my takeaway, again, is just that the Colorado experiment is a resounding success.
I think my biggest takeaway is this is incredible for the sport of college football. The entire Colorado experience. I'm getting texts throughout the day, seeing tweets from people who are not engaged in the college football Saturday very often, but know that I am. And they're like, what do you think about all this? Are you out in Boulder? I got to watch Deion. I got to see Deion. Like, this is incredibly good for the sport as a whole. You're getting a lot more people engaged in the sport at a time where the sport can probably use it. And having somebody like this who pulls in so many casual people, every Colorado game this year seems like it has had stakes when they haven't necessarily. Like, this game was must-see television for a lot of people, and it was a 24-point spread in a rivalry game that had no juice outside of the state of Colorado. Like,
in the worst TV window possible.
In the worst TV window possible, as we sit here at 2:55 a.m. Eastern talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
College football needs people that break out beyond college football. And I made this comment before the season that I thought the last person in the sport who did that was Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
And we saw that with the Netflix doc. And so it's ultimately good that Deion Sanders is there drawing a lot of attention to the sport of college football. How many
sideline? Yeah.
More people knew about Colorado State than ever before watching them because of this game. Like that's still, in Colorado State blew it, but that's still good. So ultimately my takeaway is Deion's success has been good for college football, and also Colorado State really blew that game. I came into this, literally today I was thinking, you know what? I've seen so many coaches go for fourth downs more than I ever have before. It seems like they've finally woken up to that. And then this game happens and Deion kicks a field goal on 4th and 2 at the goal line. and Jay Norvell does what he does at the end of this game. Play to win the game, people. Hello.
To quote the great coach currently he'll never coach in college again, but is he still waiting on his fate? I believe that's
my favorite thing about you, Chris, is that your
but
biggest Colorado takeaway is that Colorado State blew it.
That's
They did.
All right, guys. Well, 20 minutes at 2 a.m. I think we did our part here. We got the podcast topper. 3
Central
a.m.
Time slackers.
Central time zone is an elite time zone. Thank you guys so much for joining me again at such a late time. And this will be the rest of the podcast moving forward. Will be an entertaining thing to hear us interact and discuss Colorado as they're losing in the first half, knowing how it all played out. And of course, be sure to catch us on Sunday Sound Off on Sunday afternoon. So thanks. And here's the rest of Until Saturday.